Beyond Winning. That's the title of your new book. How does it feel?
Yes. Oh, man. I honestly did not know if I was gonna be able to pull this off, um,
Mm,
but it was a relief to finish. There was just I feel like I've been working on this one for so long, way longer than any of my other books. So, it's good to finally have it out in the world to where it can help other people. But it's done so much to help me in the last year.
mm. Why didn't you feel like it wouldn't get put out?
Um, because I think it's important that I live out these things before I publish them. You know, it's something that I have to experience and embody before I feel like it's okay for me to share it with the world. So I changed a lot with this book, and um, it's just very difficult to write a book, to risk, being known and putting yourself out there. Um, I don't know. It's the most vulnerable and honest book that I've written, so I really
Mm,
wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to put myself out there like that.
dang. You know what's crazy about that?
What?
I've been dealing with my version of that when it comes
Mhm.
to the both the brand and t-shirt brand with progress is the only goal. Like
Mm.
I felt like, dang, this is very transparent right here. This is crazy. I did not expect to do this. But but no, I felt like a fraud basically
Mhm.
because my life wasn't living what the brand was about. So I was like, how
Mm.
can I talk about this? How can I put this out if I'm not making progress in my own? Like I felt like I'm not making steps so you can see it at least and be like, oh, yes, he's putting the work in, but he's not actually making progress. So it doesn't feel like I was worthy enough to champion the brand and talk about it and wear it as much. So like there was pockets where I talk about it and want to promote it, but then I felt like I can't, I don't deserve it really. So I stopped
Mm.
talking about it for a while. And it's like, well, it's time for me to start doing it and put it back out there. Then I put it off for a while. So I know how you feel. I felt that when it comes to my own journey in life. So what was the journey like of you getting to the point to be able to finally write it and put it out?
Um, Man, I just feel like I've changed so much in the past year, and I guess in order for me to move on from a chapter, I kind of needed to see it in my own life. There's a chapter about how winning pulls you out of the moment and the importance of being in the moment and just focusing on the present. And I think that was the hardest chapter for me because I just spend so much time, dreaming about the future or wondering what's going to happen next or stressed about the past. And it really just became such a personal journey. And I think I wrote way more words in my journal, kind of about allowing this book to change me than I did in the actual book. But, as I finished it, I look back and I'm way more present. I'm way more process oriented. Um, I think it's just guided me back to the things that I can control. And it's funny, I still need the reminders because, after you finish writing a book, then you have to work on selling the book. And so my mind
Mhm.
immediately went to, okay, how can I sell 1,000 copies in December? It's like, girl, that's the whole point of the book is that we don't focus on results. Let's focus on how many pieces of content can I put out to help other people? How many blogs can I share? Um, and so it's just kind of funny how much I needed this book, and even if it doesn't sell any more copies, the book would still be worth writing because of how much I changed, and I think that's really what matters.
Mm. That's like when Ryan Holiday talks about stoicism, and he'll
Mhm.
have people come up to him talking about it, and he'll say, "Hey, I practice stoicism, read the books, and I'm good." And he's like, "No, you've missed the entire point. Stoicism isn't like an end point. Stoicism is a journey. It's the full process of it. It's never ending." And so I think you can speak to that better than I can. Of like, when you're writing these books, it's not about I wrote the book and now I've conquered this thing and I'm done with it. No, I wrote the book to show how I've progressed from level 2 to level 3, but it's still an ongoing journey. And I think that's the beauty of what the book is about, basically. Like, it's not the end point of like I won. It's the success, like you said in the book, versus winning.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I mean, I wrote Beyond Winning not because I have all the answers about how to, not focus on the end result. I wrote it because I struggle, because that is what I focus on, and it's left me feeling disempowered and anxious. And so, really, when I'm choosing what to write a book about, the best way to go about it is I pick what I'm struggling with, and um, and I'm still going to struggle with it, and that's why my inspiration has always been my own life and my own struggles.
Okay. So that's how you start the book. What is the process like throughout writing it? How do you know, like, what does the study look like? What is the reading and all the sources you pull from? Because you reference a lot of different things. So how do you find
Mhm.
time in your life to be the researcher for the book, but then still live your life outside of that? How do you manage all that stuff, like the writing process?
Yeah. Well, the beginning is really fun. I started in January, and I kind of just kept a notebook that has all of my ideas. Like, if I would watch a Tiger Woods documentary and hear something that he did that I felt was relevant, I would just jot it down in there. And the beginning is just a lot of consuming ideas, watching you know, documentaries, 30 for 30s, reading books. That's the fun part for me. That's like, I can't believe I'm kind of getting paid to do this. Um, and starting is definitely the most intimidating part because there's just endless amount of directions that you can go in, and it's like overwhelming of where to start. But I think where it gets most disruptive of my life is towards the end when I'm trying to finish the book, because it's like that's really all I can think about. And, I'll be laying down trying to go to sleep in the last month of writing the book, and it's just all these ideas
Mhm.
are spinning in my head, and I got to keep a notebook and a pen on my nightstand. And um that's when I lose all balance in my life. So yeah, I haven't quite figured out how to balance all of that yet, but it's a lot easier in the beginning when it's, kind of content consumption.
Mhm.
And then it gets a lot more personal and challenging when you have to be the one creating the content, and then at the end, when you realize you're about to put all of these thoughts out into the world, that's when it starts getting real of like, "Wait, can I do this? Should I do this? Do I even wanna do this? Like, is anyone else hiring? Maybe I shouldn't be doing this."
I know how you feel. Like, this is why I enjoyed the book so much because I felt so much of what you were saying in it. And this right here, what you're
Mhm.
speaking about, I feel that too, because there's this never ending ideology of like, I'm never really done. When is there enough? Like, and it's
Mhm.
coming from the basketball hustle culture and then transferring to the entrepreneurship hustle culture. It's a never ending work some more, and then sprinkle some more work on top of that mentality. And that's good for pockets. And it's sometimes where it's great, but then sometimes, like you said, it kind of gets crazy. And it's like, hey, pull back and you need to realign things. And I think the beauty of what you're doing, though, it has some idea of an end goal. Like the book has to come out, you know.
Mhm.
So how do you know when the book is actually done and finished for you, though?
Um, yeah, that's a great question because I do feel like I could just work on this book forever. Like, easily, I had another 3, 4 years in me to where I could have tinkered around and tried to find better stories. Um, but there's this quote, "Art is never finished, it's only abandoned." And, um, I'm kind of going about it like I wanna write a book a year, and in order to do that, I think I kinda need to wrap things up before December, that way I have a month to breathe, um, so I'm kind of going throughout the whole year, like, okay, when it gets to August, it's probably time to start winding down and editing, um, but it is hard to be like, "Okay, I really have to be done with this," and then the perfectionist mindset takes over of like, "Oh no, this is gonna be put in print. I need to go back
Mhm.
through it for the 20th time and make sure that everything is perfect." Um, but I think what allowed me to kinda say, "This is done, this is ready," is knowing that this is how it gets introduced to the world. Like, it kinda feels like it's done for me, but it can't help other people, which is what it's meant to do if I just keep it to myself for another 3 years. Like, I have this belief that I was put on earth to write books for basketball players to help them, and it really can't serve people if I'm hoarding it because it's not completely perfect. Um, and at the same time, it's like I'm still allowed to keep talking about this stuff. You know, if I want, I can write a similar book next year, just with a different title about the same philosophy and the same concepts. But probably about a month before I published, I knew that like, okay, it's done. You know, we'll tweak it a little and look over it, but it's time, and that's really hard for me to let go of, but it has to, serve people, and make a difference, so I had to let go of it.
Mhm. It's almost like because I think about a lot of stuff in terms of music and watch a lot of artists, get interviewed and they talk about, hey, when do you know this album's done?
Mm,
And I kind of say a similar thing of like, well, it's never really done. I could keep writing it, but I had to give myself a deadline. Or I'm trying to get a story out and the story was being told. I feel like I don't know what else I could have definitely tweaked stuff in terms of sonically. I could have chose this beat I could have chose this beat instead of this one, or I could have flipped this line and did this. But the takeaway I wanted them to have, I feel like it's done at this point. It's just the artist in me wants to keep going, keep driving, but I'm pretty much done. Or sometimes it's like, hey, they knock on the door, I need the album, and they took what I had and they just started mixing and mastering after that. Um, so when it comes to that process for you, did you have someone helping you and getting on you, like, hey, I know you want to write this book, and I know how you get being perfectionist, but like it's August or it's July. You need to start winding down. Did you have somebody supporting you, helping you to kind of figure that out?
Um, Not really. My friends are way too nice and they're kind of like, "Oh, you'll know when it's ready." And it was kind of this internal debate. Um, but when I knew it was time to make the final push and publish, I did tell my friends like, "Okay, I'm going into labor. Like I'm going to have a book." Like I don't know, it's just this sense of like, okay, I need a few weeks of just being locked in and then there's going to be a book, but I can't come out to dinner tonight cuz my water broke yesterday and I'm in book labor. So that's really what it felt like, and there wasn't, I don't know, something clear like that on the outside. It was more so an internal feeling of like, okay, it's time for me to push.
Mm, that's funny. You were in book like, but that makes you think about the whole work-life balance thing. Um, I think we get too jaded and think of when we think of work-life balance, we think 50-50. I need to spend an equal amount of time on my job or at work or doing what I do, spend an equal amount of time with family and friends or just what I want to do. And I don't think we kind of like you were saying, it's more like a binary thing. You either win or you lose. It's either 50-50 or it's not. But if you ask everybody what their values are, some people value family time a little bit more. Some people don't value it as much. I can spend a weekend with my family and I feel content until the next weekend. Some people, I need just 5 minutes every day. Just give me 30 minutes every day and they'll be good. And so, in terms of work life balance, we thinking about it as this is my set lifestyle. I think of it more as seasons like basketball does. You have,
Mhm.
like you said, there's creative season for me just thinking, pulling ideas, and now you have a direction to go in. Now we're in season mode. It's time for me to start writing, actually crafting it. Oh, now we're in postseason. It's time for me to actually finish this up so I can get to the championship. The book's done and it's out. Now it's off season. I don't know if that's the most accurate description of it, but you know what I'm trying to say. Then it's off season where it's time to market it and put the book out there and push it. And so in season for you or championship season, probably the two most intense times. So now we're in the postseason. It's time for you to lock in, like you said, give birth to the book because you're in labor now. And that's where it shifts from being uh writing about the book 4 or 5 hours a day to now spending 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day writing the book and crafting it. And I think the more we kind of weave in that idea of like the seasons of work life balance versus a set fixed lifestyle or mindset of work life balance, that'll help everybody out. Um, so what do you
Yeah,
think in terms of that?
man,
Like that's lined up for you?
that is so good and so accurate. Like it's not a black and white thing, this work-life balance. It's gray and it changes. It's on a spectrum. There are some seasons where I can go 3 weeks without working on the book, and there are others where I need to work 15-hour days for 3 weeks in order to finish the book, and I think that's healthy.
Mhm.
Look at nature, like the trees are healthy because they die every winter and the leaves fall. That's not a bad thing. That's just part of the cycle. And it's the same deal with winning and losing. We tend to look at losing like, "Oh my goodness, that's so bad and you need to avoid that at all costs," when actually it's just a natural part of the process and the seasons that we have to go through in order to bloom properly.
Mm. You touched on that in the book. But beyond winning, from the rip, I thought that was an interesting title because, of course, we live in a sports society and era. It's about winning and losing. But essentially, the book is talking about what winning is. So, can you tell me what winning isn't basically, and kind of talk about the myths of what winning is not?
Yeah. Pat Riley has this great quote that inspired the title of the book, and He said, "There's always the motivation of wanting to win. Everybody has that. But a champion needs in his attitude a motivation above and beyond winning." And I think I've been told the message so many times that winning is everything, and we've all heard the lazy coaching cliches of like, "Oh, you just have to want to win more. The team that wants to win more is going to win." Where I don't think I've met someone who's going out there like, "I don't care if we win or lose." Like, inherently as athletes, we all are driven to win. So the idea that that's some sort of separator or that's going to make you better than everyone else is this massive desperation and desire to win.
Mhm.
It really doesn't make sense. That's just what we all have in common. Um, and I think the book is really about differentiating the results from greatness, right? Greatness is actually what we're all after, but we tend to confuse it with winning, and they're very different things. Winning you cannot control, but greatness is a lifestyle. It's about how you show up, it's about how you respond, and that is within your control. Um, so I think this drive to win is so glorified in our culture, but it actually holds us back. I had a coach in high school who was a big winning is everything guy, and we took a road trip about 2 hours away, which was completely unnecessary because there were plenty of schools within an hour, and we crushed this team by probably 90 points. And I remember before the game, as I was lacing up, the coach was like, "Julie, someday when you're a coach, you'll understand that you'll travel anywhere for a win." And I didn't say anything, but I sat there and thought about how, like, I hope my ego never gets to the point where I wanna go drive 2 hours in order to have a good record so that I look good. I want to be the kind of coach who is willing to schedule the best team nearby or who will drive 2 hours to seek out a team that's way better than we are. So winning seeks ease and seeks shortcuts, whereas to go beyond winning means you seek out the worthy opponent. You seek out challenges because you know that's what's going to make you grow. Not ease, but to seek the path of most resistance.
Yeah, I thought that was preparing for. I thought that was beautiful because a lot of coaches are in that first mindset of we have to win, do what it takes to win, have to win at all costs. I don't care if you have to crawl to the finish line, if you have to be, shot and you're bleeding and limping, it doesn't matter. We have to win. And then for you to say winning does not equal greatness, it has to make you stop and think. Like that's the point of us playing the game is to win so I can be great. So if I win, how do I not equal being great? I think basically that's like the subtext, I guess you can say about the book. Is like you can have all the medals, all the success that you dream of having, all the accolades, but it doesn't equal being greatness. Um, and I think that points to like what you were saying with Bill Russell and saying how
Mhm.
because he was so character driven, he was so stuck on the value of leadership. That's what made him so great to be so far removed from the era of him playing to now our generation respects him for what he's done. Like forget the rings and stuff, like that's cool too. But the way that people talk about him and how he's so reverenced as a human being, it's like, whoa, this man 80
Mhm.
something years old, at the time. And it's like, yeah, he won 11 rings, but no one talks about that. Like that, yeah, he won 11 rings, but you know how great he is, you know how good of a dad he is and granddad, and the Celtics love him, the community loves him. I think that's the essence of what those coaches forget is like who you become in the process and who you are throughout the process. You can cut corners and everything, but if you are leaving terrible breadcrumbs to win, is it really worth the win? So I think you have to stop and pause and think, am I trying to win or am I trying to be great? I think that's a beautiful question that you kind of leave us with at the end of the book of like, do I want to win or do I want to be great?
Mhm. Yeah. I I think that's a really important distinction because I really confuse the two as an athlete and um I read Winning by Tim Grover, and I think Tim Grover's brilliant, but it really pushes the message that winning is the only thing that matters. Winning is everything. And I've been studying all these great athletes and great coaches, and I'm like, wait a second, that's not really their approach. All of them have something else in common, and it's that they're all chasing something beyond winning, and winning is just the byproduct of having a higher aim. And you look at coaches like John Wooden who never mention winning, which really makes no sense. Like when I first heard about that, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
how because you won 10 national championships in 12 years. Like what do you mean you never mentioned winning? And so I go like, what was this guy talking about? And um, it's one of my favorite stories in the book. I kind of frame it like, okay, imagine you just signed to UCLA to play for a dynasty under John Wooden, and you're a freshman and you're all excited to prove yourself, and Coach Wooden walks out and he blows the whistle and he motions for the team to join him, and you're like, here we go. Okay, he's going to give us a big speech about, what it takes to win. And you're just expecting this sort of intensity. And he starts talking about how to put your socks and shoes on right. And you're like scratching your head, like looking around. Is this some sort of joke? Is this like a freshman prank? And John Wooden is just so serious about making sure you know how to put your socks and shoes
Mm-hmm.
on, and you're there like, I thought I joined a dynasty. Like this feels too small for the stage that I stepped onto. And it's actually a better path to win is to focus on those details, on getting the smallest details right. And I think that's what Tim Grover kind of missed in his winning book, is that even the athletes that he worked with, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and Dwayne Wade, it was not so much as an obsession with the results. Like Kobe talked about the Mamba mentality being a focus on the process and falling in love with the quest and not hyper focus on the results. And that's what the people who have dominated their sports all have in common, is not an obsession with winning. They think about winning actually a lot less because they're so focused on the moment.
Yeah. I think I kind of go back and forth on this ideology of you
Mhm.
just focus on the process and you focus on the work. And on the other side, it kind of gets to like winning kind of is all that matters because if you don't have the outcome, so say like for you, what you were saying, like I can talk about a book about beyond winning, but if I don't have any wins to say, it's like it doesn't hold the same weight, doesn't hold the same value of doing that. And so if I'm an entrepreneur talking about how to make X amount of money, but I haven't made X amount of money, I'm looking at you sideways because why haven't you done it for yourself?
Mhm.
So on one hand, it's easy for the winners to say winning doesn't matter, but you've won. So it's like you can't really. It doesn't hold the same weight. Like Jordan, you went 6 for 6. It doesn't feel the same way. I'd much rather hear about Allen Iverson saying that. And it's like, okay, well, AI can't say the same thing either because he won an MVP. He went to the finals. We hold him in high regard. let me hear from the guy who didn't make it to the NBA. Then it's like, well, no, he didn't win. So I don't want to hear from him either. So it gets to this point where who do we listen to? Who do we actually pull from when we talk about success? And then it goes back to the beginning point, what you were saying, like it's about the process.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I agree with you because John Wooden did say he would consider himself just as successful had he won 0 national championships, and I'm thinking, "Well, we wouldn't." Like, I don't know if
Mm-mm,
you would have made my book if you hadn't, and, Gino won his 12th national championship while I was writing the book, and he said, "It won't change anything for me, but it'll change stuff for my players." And I was kind of surprised because I disagreed with him. I'm like, actually, Gino, this does change a lot for you because it kind of shows that your greatness transcends decades. Like, so much has changed more than anyone could imagine in the last decade, and he's still able to make it to the very top. And this happened back in April, and that's where I was really like, wait, I do think winning changes stuff for Gino. So how am I supposed to write this book about how winning isn't everything when I clearly think it changes things and it matters? And it changed Paige's legacy. Like, there was kind of a
mm-mm,
question mark there. Now there's a period. And that's when I was like, okay, the truth is gray,
mm-mm,
we tend to want to do this black and white thing of like, you're either a winner or you're a loser. And
mm-mm.
that just makes everything easier to grasp. But, this book is about the nuance of like, what really makes someone great. And I don't pretend that winning doesn't matter because everyone who made the book made it because they won a lot. Winning is important, but it's about how you get there.
Yeah. I think it goes back to um your I think it goes back to two things. One, your internal definition of what success and winning means to you. I think that's the
Mhm.
first point we all have to come to. Like, what's my compass pointing to? And your actions will guide that. But then it also goes to the balance of potential and potential being met. And so
Mhm.
LeBron James from 18, crowned the chosen one, so on and so forth. We can say all the stuff about winning doesn't matter and it doesn't matter, it doesn't impact his legacy, so on and so forth. But if that man did not win a ring, we are looking at him totally different. So
Mhm.
that's where it's the weird spot of like, how do we kind of navigate to what success and winning actually means? And also, we're talking about the internal dialogue of what I care about and what I value and what it means to me. And I think it's still such a deeper philosophical ideology because we say winning doesn't matter. I'm with that side of winning doesn't matter. It's about the process. I follow Kobe. I'm a fan of Steph, so like I believe and follow that too. But it gets to an end point of where winning has to mean something. And I think what you said in the book is beautiful. Winning puts a period and removes a question mark there. And I think the winning is validation of the process. So
Mhm.
I don't know, it's an
Yeah.
interesting conversation to have.
Yeah. And um going back to Gino Oriema, it's he was in an interview talking about Stewie having bad body language and he benched her and he said, "I'd rather lose." And everyone was like, wait, what? This guy who is the winningest coach in college basketball, like, what do you mean you'd rather lose than allow these kids to play the way that some kids want to play? And it's like, no, that's how he built the culture is by accepting the immediate losses in order to uphold a certain standard. And I think that's really where he differentiated himself, is like he wasn't willing to lose his standards that he built of his program. He's okay with losing a game, but not the standard. And that's how you build that championship culture.
Yeah, it goes back to the Socrates story you told in terms of he
Mhm.
literally chose death rather than compromising his values and his principles. And I was talking to my homeboy about that one time. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember if we were watching a show or a movie and we were talking about it, but somebody like literally died for what they believed in. They became a martyr for it. And we were talking about how like the modern day version of that is your character and your values and your
Mm.
principles. Like, are you willing to stand on what you believe in, whether it's your religious or spiritual beliefs, whether it's your principles of what you truly value and stand on? Are you really willing to have that social death, I guess you can say, what we call counsel today, which another conversation. But are you willing to have that in spite of what it could gain you to say, oh yeah, sure, I don't want to sit here and talk about philosophy anymore. I'll just go to some faraway land and just, you know, live culture and live out the rest of my days with my family. And I think that's a tough balance because we want to win, you want to have the success, but am I willing to sacrifice who I am, or who I see myself to be to get that end goal? And I think that's the real
Mhm.
conversation we all have to have. And then I think that starts the navigation of what I value and who I become in the process.
Yeah, and I think most players or most coaches are willing to compromise their values if the stakes are high enough. Like if you have
Mhm.
a team rule that's like, okay, you can't stay out past curfew or else you're not playing in the next game. But it happens the night before a national championship, you know. Most coaches can be like, well, okay, we're already we made it this far. Let's just let them play. We'll punish them later, but you know, we can't keep the same standard when the national championship is at stake and our best player was 15 minutes late to curfew. But it's like, how do you make it to that level? It's by having these uncompromising standards, and to compromise them now, okay, you might be more likely to win a national championship, but what does that tell the rest of the team? That the standards aren't set in stone. They're, you know, they can waver a little bit based on the circumstance. And that's how Gino built a culture where he's winning 12 national championships through so many different eras, is because he's not willing to compromise. Like he will take the loss of a game before he takes the loss of the character and the values and the standards that he's demanding from his players.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of interesting because you don't really value someone's values until it gets held to the fire. And it's like, oh, you say you
Mm.
value discipline, but your best player is slacking right now. Let's see what you really mean if you really believe what you say now. And I think speaking of John Wood and the interesting quote that he has, he was I hope I don't butcher it. He was saying, I will coach everybody this equally but not the same. Something like that. Either I coach them the same but not
Mhm.
equal, or equal but not the same. And he gave the story of like, hey, if John Russell is late for the bus, here's a number for a cab service, a taxi. You can call them. You know, hopefully you can make it to the game on time. But if Kareem, who was Blue Center at the time, missed the bus, we're waiting for the bus. Like we gonna wait. How far will you get? 2 minutes away? Okay, cool. We're gonna wait. But he said in games, if Kareem's not getting back in the game, I'm chewing him out just like I would John. Everybody's getting coached the same in terms of that. And I think that
Mhm.
fine point makes a difference in terms of my values and my principles because, there are times to things that you'll be flexible with. That's the things that are lower value. But the principle of work hard and discipline and give your best effort, that's non negotiable for me. And so I think John kind of put that in a beautiful way of like, okay, these things are flexible, but these things are principle based. They're not moving anywhere. Um, so what are your thoughts about that? Just because I think
Mhm.
that's a very nuanced thing and creative thing that he did and said. So what are your thoughts about? Did you hear about that before?
No, I haven't heard about that, but I
Mhm.
love that story. One thing I've always said is that good coaches treat everyone equally, but great coaches treat every player special. And I think every player is just so different. Every player has their own set of values that's unique to them. Um, I don't what do you think? Do you kind of have that approach with the players you train?
Yeah. There's a level of where I'm not going to change who I am. And so
Mhm.
I'm I'm pretty nonchalant. I'm chilling. I'm not gonna yell at anybody. But the nuances of what percentage of me, I guess you can say you get changes. So I know some
Mhm.
players, I don't want to call them sensitive, but they're more sensitive. So I can't do certain things with them as much. And there are some players they can take it on the chin and keep rolling. All right, cool. You're gonna get a lot more jokes and be a little bit harder on you in terms of my criticism and critiques, versus the other person, it's a little more pat on the backs. So I do the same thing for everybody, but the percentage base of what each player gets changes. So I already have this
Mhm.
person who I know they're hard on themselves. It's a lot more pat on the backs. It's a little bit joking to ease you from being hard on yourself to get you back down to where you need to be. And so care about them all of you get the same me, but the percentage and doses of me is what changes to where you get the
Mhm.
attention that, like you said, you getting the specialization attention that you need because I know who you are. That's kind of how I deal with it. Just all of you are gonna get me, but you might get more jokes. You might get more pat on the backs. You might get more fussing and you know tough love, I guess you can say for them. So that's kind of how I navigate it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. I think, coaches tell their players all the time, like, know your personnel. And you're kind of showing them the example of that is like each player is going to have their own unique set of tolerance for hard coaching or, some need more jokes to cheer them up and to treat them based on that is so much harder than to just
Mhm.
treat everyone the exact same, but it is a lot more effective.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to I think you mentioned this in the book about how we kind of have to figure out our values, and that's kind of what pushes us. Um,
Mhm.
I think we all have to like principles are the things that are a non-negotiable, but also stand the test of time. And
Mhm.
so if I'm holding principles at a certain, that's the non-negotiables. Like I said, you're not going to get on the court and not work hard. You're not going to hustle and get back on defense. That's a principle that'll get you subbed out very quickly, cussed out, throwing chairs, whatever the coach does. That's what they do. Now, value, I hold this in high regard, but it's a little more flexible. I would like for everybody to be on a bus on time, but if my best player is late, we're gonna wait a little bit versus the 15th player on the bench. I hate to say it, buddy, but maybe your mom can bring you to this game or you got a best friend, whatever, something like that. And I think that's kind of the nuances of it. And it's really kind of making that be about your character and who you want to be at the end of the day. So if you want
Mhm.
to be the one who's known, like you said, oh man, you said this so beautifully. I had to bring it up in the quote. Oh man, hold on. It was about dang, did I put it down? It was like the resume versus the eulogy something.
Oh, virtues.
Oh man.
I could probably find it.
Yes, the resume virtues versus the eulogy virtues. I thought that was so beautiful because that made me think about something I had about character versus reputation.
Mm.
And it's like, uh, reputation is, I like this story. So if we're in a car together and I'm driving, right? And I'm eating an apple or I'm eating some grapes, you know, they have to like the vine still on the grapes, or I'm eating some candy, small little wrapper, whatever. And because you're in the car, it's like, I don't want to do this. Or even better yet, if I have like my niece in the car, my nephew, a little kid, when I play, it's like, I don't want to throw it away in front of them. That's a bad representation. That's a bad look. It's a bad example to set. But if I'm in the car by myself, do my actions change? So
Mm.
I think that's character versus reputation. So reputation is who you're known as, but character is who you truly are. So if you're watching TV shows, you know the character of who they are. You see the girl who was talking mess behind this other girl back, you know she's messy, but her reputation on this show with the other characters known to be is this person. So the character is who we truly are behind closed doors. On stuff that God sees between me and God, that's your character. Reputation is
Mhm.
who people know you as. I thought that was beautiful. Your resume virtues versus eulogy virtues. So can you explain that? Cause I thought that was just, I like how you put that. I'm using that just so you know.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, I can't take credit for it. That was David Brooks in his book, The Road to Character. And it does remind me of John Wooden talking about character versus reputation. And character is who you are, reputation is who other people think you are. And you would hope they'd both be good. But a lot of times that isn't the case. And we can all get caught up in circumstances where maybe we did the right thing, but it didn't look that way to the outside world, and our reputation still takes a hit. So to value those eulogy virtues of who you are, not just who the world says you are, that's what's going to bring you peace of like, okay, my reputation took a hit in this circumstance. There's a lot of people now who may not think I'm a good person, but if you know at your core that your character is what you valued and you did the right thing and you acted in line with your values, then you get the reward of having that internal peace. But I think so often our culture just values those resume virtues of like, what are your skills? But at your funeral, no one's going to be talking about how many games you won or how many points you average. They're just going to remember the kind of teammate you were while you were chasing all of that. And so that's what we should value. And that's kind of how John Wooden built his culture. It was on those eulogy virtues. It's character first, results second.
You talked about how character means everything, and like you talked about the culture of what John Wooden built. From all the study you done, all the research you did, how do you think we begin to build that culture in a team to where it's easy for me to say the scoreboard doesn't matter, we don't scoreboard watch, it doesn't matter, it's irrelevant. But how do you kind of build that culture to what Gino, John Wooden, and all the other greats that we talk about, how did he did it?
Yeah, I think you have to be the culture that you want to see. And I think every leader has this awesome advantage where they can see the mirror of their leadership in how all of their players act. And that's why you have to become the kind of culture that you want your entire organization to have because they're not going to magically exceed your character. It trickles down from the top. So if you want a team that's more competitive, be more competitive. If you want a team that really values hard work, that's not going to work if you're the last one to the office every day and you're not really engaged during practice. It's, players need things modeled, and that character is contagious. And that's how these great leaders instilled it in their players. It's not that they gave these great speeches about this is how you're going to act. It's the way that they carried themselves and modeled it. And that's how people learn from them. It's like your leadership is who you are and how you carry yourself. And that's why I said character first and results second instead of process first, results second. It's because everything flows from your character and who you are.
Mm. I think that was very. I like how you did that because you can get to a point if it's process first, you kind of don't care as much. Like you care because you want to go the right steps and do everything the right way, but when it comes down to like you said, kind of enjoying the process and the story you gave about how the kids who love to paint, they just did it and they, they went crazy about it. Then it's like, hey, we can start giving me money for it. It's like, I don't like this as much. It's cool, but I just did it for the love of the game. And so when you enjoy the process, but it comes from a place of character, it's easy to sustain it versus, yeah, I have a job and I'm going through the process of making this work so I can have the money. But
Mm-hmm.
if I got another job that gives me more money, I'm easily quitting. But if I enjoy what I'm doing, the money is a good byproduct. Winning helps it, of course. It's a lot better for me. Like you still write books whether you're making 10 million or $10,000, but it definitely feels a lot better to have 10 million. You know, so that's where I
Yeah.
think where the character first process and then outcome matters a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's very challenging in today's game to stay true to yourself. And that study with the kids painting, and I talk about another study where, they had these college students solve puzzles, and for one group they interrupted them in the middle and they're like, all right, we're paying you to do these puzzles. And they interrupted a separate group, but they didn't pay them. They're like, hey, just take a break. And then they gave both groups the opportunity to come back to the puzzle. But the first group wasn't going to be paid. And so they were like, oh, we're not getting paid this time, then we're not doing it. But the group who never got paid was like, okay, I got to figure this thing out. I started a puzzle. I'm not about to quit a puzzle in the middle. Like, it's going to be so gratifying when I solve this thing. And psychologists call this the over justification effect, that um, we kind of all have this idea that extrinsic rewards add to our joy. Like, oh, I love playing basketball, and if someone will give me a paycheck to do it, that'll just make it 10 times better. It actually is going to make it harder for you to enjoy the game because you kind of get confused. It's like, wait, why am I doing this? Because if you're just doing it for a check, it really takes away that basketball is intrinsically rewarding for a lot of people. And that's why they started playing. And, in today's NIL world, it's so hard because athletes aren't really taught the dangers of how external rewards don't actually add to joy, they actually replace it. And that's why, keeping your character first is more important than it ever has been today.
Have you heard about I'm pretty sure you have. You heard about the marshmallow test?
Yeah, where they
The
like
little
leave the
kid.
room. and the kids yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Adam Grant had a beautiful twist on this. I don't see what you think about it. So for listeners' sake, marshmallow test is where they have a group of kids and they say, hey, we're gonna put this marshmallow on the table. And I forgot what the time frame was. Let's say it's 15 minutes. If you don't eat this marshmallow in 15 minutes, we'll give you some more. And so some kids who failed, they just couldn't do it. They just like, I can't do it. I have to take this marshmallow now and grab it. But the kids who succeeded, they distracted themselves. So basically, they would take the marshmallow and just put it away to where they couldn't reach it, or could put it to where they couldn't see it. They would distract themselves, start playing the game or whatever. It's basically the test is all about delayed gratification, basically. And Adam Grant was like, beautiful research. You see everybody quoting and posting it when they talk about this whole thing. But he broke it down and he was like, but do we think about their background and where they come from? Because if I'm a kid of privilege, it's easier for me to see the bigger picture. It's a lot more
Mm,
simple for me to say, oh, for sure, I don't care about that. Because if I don't get it now, I know I have a backup plan over here to where if this business fails, I can start another one with my dad over here. Or I can join his business over there. But if I don't come from much, it's a lot harder for me to have that bigger picture and long term view because every day is a struggle of today. So I think I have to figure out how I'm gonna get money for dinner tonight. Forget about investing and saving for the future. And I thought that was such a gray area idea because we treat it so binary, like you were saying. But no, there's a huge gray area in the middle. You think about it as just delayed gratification. You can either wait or you can't. But the small nuances of your background makes a big impact of who you are moving forward. So I want to see what you think about that.
man, Adam Grant is just brilliant. I love that so much. My old communication professor, Dr. Heather Day, she's written several incredible books, but she used to say the difference between our empathy and our judgment is always whether or not we know the whole story. And man, that will change the way that you approach relationships with people and the way that you coach people. Um, I was an AAU coach right after I graduated college, and I had a player who was just going through the motions someday, and I wanted to be like, all right, we're done with the laziness baseline. We're going to run until you realize we all need to work hard, like just because you don't feel like it today. And then I was like, the difference between empathy and judgment is always whether or not you know the whole story. So I had my team go shoot and I pulled her aside and I was like, what's going on? You're normally always giving 100% and it doesn't seem like you are today. And she's like, actually, my stomach's been hurting so bad today. And I was like, thank God I asked this poor eighth grader what's going on before I jump to these conclusions of like, you're being lazy.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's another one of those gray area situations where we can get to the truth a lot easier by not making everything black and white. And I think for that player, she felt understood and seen. And every other day from then on, she gave 100%. Whereas I don't know what would have happened if I would have just made the whole team run because one person wasn't feeling good, but I assumed it was laziness. So yeah, that gray area, getting curious type of thinking is really powerful.
Hmm. I always struggle with this. How do you balance being a demanding coach with that gray area of kind of give them leeway to like what stuff they have. And so being in a situation where, it's like the difference between being hurt and being injured. We all kind of understand that. And you want to install that mentality into kids and not to baby them. Want them to push them to be a little bit more, be a little bit better. And you want to get to the idea, like you said in your book, to just be your best, have your best. So how would you think you kind of navigate that, weird spot of like, hey, I don't want to be, you know, the authoritarian type of coach where it's do as I say, you don't do it on the line. But I don't want to go to the other end where it's like the gentle parenting idea of,
Mhm.
oh, we can just talk about everything. How do you kind of find that sweet spot to where you're demanding and pushing them, but you're also giving grace and kind of becoming understanding of who they are and what they're dealing with?
Yeah, I always think of Greg Popovich and how his assistants would say that he does 2 things that make him really different, and it's that, number 1, he always tells you the truth, and I think truth gives you a reason to grow, and the second thing he does is that he's gonna love you to death, so that love kinda gives you the space to grow because, you have that grace, so I think it's the combo of, like, if your players know that you care and you love them, they're going to have a better relationship with the truth when you tell it to them. And that means if you've prioritized like making sure they know that you care, then you can tell them the truth and they're going to thank you for it. Whereas if you kind of act like you don't care about them and then you tell them the truth, they're going to feel attacked.
That goes into I hope I don't butcher this, but it's like if you tell the truth and within the mean way, it becomes I butchered it. I'm sorry. I forgot how it goes. But basically it's like if you say, oh, I'm just being honest and telling the truth, but you're not doing it in a loving way or basically a way that they can receive it, it's not really gonna be as well received. Um, but on the other end, if you hold things back from them, you don't tell them, that's also hurting them too. So just to act like I didn't say that because I messed that one up. But
There's so many quotes, it's hard to memorize them all.
yeah. So I'm gonna go to another quote that I do remember, but basically he said, you can't be mean and rude to someone. You can be angry at someone, but understand them at the same time. It's
Mm,
impossible for those two feelings to exist in the same spot. Because like you said, if you really dig into being empathetic with someone, it's a lot harder for you to be judgmental, if you to be as mean or angry about them. He was talking about a relationship he had with his dad. He was like, for so long, he was just so mad and so angry with him until he got to a point where he like really put himself in his dad's shoes and began to understand them. He's like, if you truly thought and it's like, hey, if I were you, I would make the exact same decisions that you made, no
mm,
changes, because of your lived experience and everything that you've dealt with, your thought process, everything that got you to this point. If I was in your shoes, I'll make the exact same decision that you made, good, bad, or indifferent. I would make that the same thing. And so when you think about it from that standpoint, the empathy grows, and I can't be as hard hearted anymore towards them. And so when it comes to coaching, it's like so often because I'm used to working a little bit older, say like high school and college girls lately. So every once in a while, I get back to the youth side, and it's like, was I this bad? We all say this. Was I this bad in middle school? Was we really like this? And we all say it.
right.
And so sometimes I think back, I'm like, man, maybe we were. There's small differences. Don't get me wrong. We had some things that were better. We actually played the game because we just like hooping outside, so that made a big difference. But there was like the IQ piece of like not knowing stuff. I'm like, man, I wasn't this dumb when I was in middle school. And I thought back, I was like, I was that dumb. I didn't know a lot of different stuff. I didn't know what the elbow was, what the nail was. I didn't know how to do this, that, and the third. But I grew. I learned because of my coaches. So I think as a coach, we have to humble ourselves, come with a lot more empathy, and just put the teacher's hat on a lot more than I think we would like to do sometimes. And just suck it up and like just go through that process. So, lead with empathy and going back to you saying about the character versus the process, and it leads to the results.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that leads to your players seeing more seen and appreciated and validated in however they're feeling, and when you can do that for a player, you probably experienced this as a trainer, but it makes them wanna work that much harder.
Yeah, it's pockets where like you say, like it's times where you want to push them. It's like something off with you. And it's like, hey, you
Mhm.
good? Like I got a girl I used to train, and she would always tell me no. Like you, something wrong with you? No, I'm fine. I'm like, all right, okay. And she keeps messing up stuff. And I see kind of like something's wrong with her knee, and she jumping off her legs kind of funny. And it's like something's obviously wrong with you. You good? Yeah, yeah, I'm fine. Let's get back to it. And at some point, I find like, hey, you're something's not right with you, and you're not telling me the truth. And so in my brain, I'm seeing you just not competing as hard. And that's the issue with me now. I'm not seeing your
Mhm.
best effort. And I'm seeing you starting to backtrack now. And that's bothersome for me. So if this is not true, I need you to like break down this image that I have right now. Because if nothing's going on with you and I'm seeing this, now we have another issue to take care of. But if something else is going on and this is still true, now I can take that. Okay, yeah, my knees hurt because I had softball practice. So, okay, thank you. That's all I need to hear. So now I can readjust the session and the drills we're doing to not hurt you and to actually help you now. And so
Mhm.
because I took the time to actually listen and start diving deep and get her to understand, hey, this is what I'm seeing. Because if I keep seeing this, it leads to other actions and stuff. And I'm not a big put you on a line type of guy, especially in training, because it's not getting you better. And
Right.
so so it's like, hey, we're having an issue here. And so I think the issue is way over here in this corner, but it's right over here to my left. So it's just the right issues when I take time to understand what the real problem is. That's a big thing that I think I grasped early with training.
Yeah, I was laughing because I was totally that player who'd be like, "No, nothing's wrong. I'm fine." Like I think I actually said this to my JUCO coach, and the next time she saw me, like I was in a boot because my Achilles was bothering me, and I just had this mentality that like, "No excuses. You got to go 100% all the time." And she's like, it's January. I don't need to be running you like this if your Achilles is bothering me. Like I can sit you out so you can still be healthy come March." And I was like, "Oh, okay.
Hmm.
It's not black and white. Like it's gray and I can let my coach know when I'm hurting and that way we get a better outcome because my Achilles can rest."
Yeah, I was the same way. I was so headstrong and like, nah, I'm not hurt. I'm not injured. I'm fine. And I'm limping the whole time during practice. And I was terrible, man. But I think that just comes from the mindset, like you said, when coaches have like the hard knock mentality of give me everything you got and we have to win at all costs. And that makes me compromise my body because I can't trust that you'll use this against me now. That's player mindset of like,
Mhm.
well, if I tell them I'm hurt, I can't play. And if I can't play, then people looking at me crazy because we're not winning now or because I just feel bad for not playing. But that's why I love my role as a trainer, or even like assistant coach, because hey man, I'm not in charge of minutes. I'm not in charge of that stuff. Just come to me and we can talk about it. So
Mhm.
I,
Yeah,
I was
and
that kid too.
that kinda goes back to my confusion with what it means to give your best, and I kind of talk about this in the book because I thought giving your best did mean going 100% every day, and if I didn't, come home from the gym, like, absolutely drained and exhausted, then I'm like, "Well, I didn't give my best." Like, I assumed I left more in the tank, but that is not sustainable, as I found out in a boot from, overworking my Achilles, and your best is not, you know, maximum, um, strain on your body with no regard for your mind. So I've learned to redefine your best to working hard on what matters and showing up fully present and having the discernment of knowing when to push and when to pull back and rest and honoring both of those without shame.
I've had a very rough relationship with understanding my best.
Mm.
we're gonna talk about this later too, in terms of what the game revealed about you. Because for me, looking back, I didn't know what hard work really was. I thought I was a hard worker. I thought I was doing cool, but obviously the skills aren't there. A lot of situations I was just messing up in because I wasn't putting in the work. If I understood what hard work actually was, I would have been a better player. And transferring to now, like yeah, I'm doing stuff. I'm cool, but then I see where I could be, and so I balance with like, is it me not working as hard as I can, or is it me just being hard on myself and not showing grace? So now I'm at this little weird spot of like, okay, I say I'm working hard, but it's kind of me cutting corners to get the thing done. And now I have to work hard now with my back against the wall versus kind of making it a lifestyle for, I guess you can say. So I was like, okay, can I push myself to know what my best actually looks like now? So I think about it sometimes. It's like, man, that's a lot of work though. Like, cause I reading deep work, and it was saying how we could probably really work strong in deep work for about 4 hours. But because I think about in terms of us not actually pushing ourselves, probably work good for about 30 minutes. It's not even real deep work. That's just getting work done. I was like, man, that's 4 hours in a row. That's a lot. Like I can go watch some anime, I can read another book, whatever. It's not as me pushing myself to get to that 4 hour mark of deep work. And now I think about how much work I can get done in 4 hours. It's crazy.
Mhm.
But I have to commit to doing that though. And that's where I balance myself of like, how do I give myself grace for when I fall short, but still push to give my best along the way and knowing things can be better. Kind of like writing a book. I know the book can be better. I can tweak this. I can tweak that. I could be a better person. My writing skills can have improved. So do I put this book out now knowing that it can be better next week or next month or next year versus now, which at the level I have. So how are your thoughts are like in terms of your best, giving your best, but also balancing, knowing you can push and be better and balancing giving yourself grace throughout the process too?
Um, yeah, that's something I still struggle with, and Andre Agassi, in his, memoir, Open, he said, "If you're chasing perfection, you're chasing something that doesn't exist," and, uh, that really spoke to me because I'm like, "Oh, okay, every day when I wake up and I'm like, I need to be perfect today. I need to be great." I'm
Yeah.
chasing something that doesn't exist because there has not been a day where I'm like, "Okay, I was perfect today. I did it." And I think accepting that perfection does not exist and, believing that it's better to be consistently good than occasionally great is what's going to sustain that. But I think it is hard for ambitious people to kind of relax on this constant pushing for more. Um, but yeah, this perfection that we're after, it's not real. It doesn't exist. And there are limits that we have, unfortunately, that we have to honor.
Unfortunately, sometimes I wish I think about it so often. Like, I wish I could make a twin and we could just like tag team this out. And hey, here's the idea. I left off at this point. Keep working from here. And, I go to sleep or I go eat, whatever. And when you're done, I'll tag back in, whatever. But
Yeah,
that's
I
just me
have
watching
a
too many
twin,
cartoons.
and I
Oh, yeah.
wish she was like my sidekick, but she's not into all this stuff.
Oh, man. Oh, something I want to think about too. Kind of going back to what we were talking about in terms of like character. And one of my one of my biggest fears is being a public winner and being a private failure or a private loser. And it's
Mm,
kind of like because my character is off. And sometimes it's like, okay, I want to get there, but at what cost? Because I am kind of like I'm willing to sacrifice certain things that most people wouldn't sacrifice to get there. So for me, it's not a big loss, but it's that jeopardized relationship that I have along the way. And the whole thing about if you want to get there fast, go along and go far, go together. I wrestle with that big time too because people don't operate and work like you saying your twin sisters. Like, man, I wish you just write books like I did and you were into this space and do that. And I really struggle with that because the way I operate and work is a little bit different from people around me and stuff. So I'm really balancing some version of the win at all cost mentality, but it's really a big juggling act for me. And I also have to accept that like to get to where I want to get to, I have to sacrifice things along the way. And some of that will be sacrificing people's idea of me and what they want. I have to say a lot more no's to get there.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I'm birthing this book, guys, so I can't come out like I want to. I know y'all want to go out for drinks, yeah, I want to go to this party, but I can't right now. And I really, really struggle with that. And that keeps me in a limbo of like, okay, be a great friend over here, knowing I should be working in this over there. And it's like, I feel bad now because I went out and it's like, I don't even enjoy doing this. So let me go work on stuff more. And it's like, dang, I don't have any friends. It's just that constant juggling the back and forth.
Mhm.
How have you, throughout this book and throughout your authoring career, that was nice, I like authoring career. How have you kind of balanced that though? Like I know you're talking about the seasonal aspect of it, but was it always like that in the beginning?
Um, I had to define or redefine what success meant to me or what my ultimate goal is as an author. And my goal is to have the time and the freedom to be able to write these books and, to still have time for my friends and a social life. Um, but part of me is so ambitious that I'm like, I need to be a millionaire. I need to sell all these copies. But then it's like, why? So I can
Mhm,
have time to write these books and have freedom to be able to do what I want. And yeah, this book has really made me reevaluate what I'm chasing. And I have this idea of like, okay, I need to be, at a certain level of success. And that's when, my life will really start. But
mhm,
the truth is, the reason why I want to sell a lot of books is that so I can just do what I'm already doing now, which is having the time and the freedom to write these books. And that's the ultimate goal. So when I keep my focus on that, it kind of makes me calm down a little bit and less this relentless chase for what I kind of already have right now.
yeah. 'Cause I've been wrestling with that too in terms of like my business and business model, thinking about stuff like that. And it's been a balance because, or really like a huge juggling act because you see what other like I first get into it, everybody wants to have the gym. Everybody wants to have the gym full of 1,000 kids. And the more I got into it, I'm like, I don't want that. I'm an introvert. I like the small settings, the small groups. But then I learned I really like the intimacy, relationship building. So I want to have less kids.
Hmm.
Then it's like, well, you actually learn the business half. It's like, well, you either have to charge a little and get a lot of people, charge a lot and have few people. It's like, it don't work for me either. So how do I figure that out? And so figuring out what works for me and kind of like you were saying, what a success looks like for me. And I'm starting to dive deeper into like other trainers and see what they're doing and seeing how they're figuring stuff out. And the beautiful spot about where we're at now is that we have so many different ways we can make money outside of training and doing other things to help allocate the funds and I'm trying to use the big words to help make ends meet and to make stuff work for us, that we can do that. And so I'm
Mhm.
trying to figure out the nuance of what works for me, but there's no blueprint for it. Like I have to create this for myself. And by doing that, that means I have to be different and have to stand out some. But that also means I have to be alone and I have to tear away from what the norm is. And that's my current struggle of figuring all these things out because if someone knows training, they're like, oh, just do X, Y, and Z or do A, B, and C. But neither of those work for me. So I have to come out with this whole different thing and kind of re educate you on this whole new process. And so I feel like for you being an author, people have ideas of what it's like to be an author, but they don't actually know what the lifestyle like and what the whole sacrifice and the juggling act is. And then especially if you're doing authoring a different way, because we see uh the Adam Grants or the Simon Sinek's, we talk about how they do stuff. And it's like, well, just do what they do. And it's like, hold on, I'm not them. I don't have the resources they have. So relax. Let me work how I work. And that's kind of like my juggling act. But how have you kind of navigate that for your space and figuring out what success is for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, you said it really well. You kinda have to be just the expert on yourself and know what you need and you want and what's gonna work for you, and, I mean, I get the feedback of everyone else knows what I should be doing too, like, "Oh, go get a publisher. Oh," all these there's a lot of traditional ways to
Mhm.
be a writer that I don't wanna do, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, you need to build this empire with Ball Psych," and I'm like, I kinda just wanna write books and help people in that way,
Mhm.
um, and it is hard to not get caught up in what will work for other people, um, and staying true to what you know works for you, so, I mean, I think I was asking my therapist about it yesterday. I'm like, "Oh, what should I do? I just feel like I'm not doing enough or doing the wrong thing." Um, and the reality is you and I are probably doing a lot better than we give ourselves credit for because we're so ambitious that we're always pushing for more.
Man, my homeboy told me maybe 4 3 4 years ago, he was like, "Bruh, like you doing the thing." I was like, "No, no, bro, you're doing." Like I remember way back when you talked about doing it and you were starting it, and now you're doing it. And it's not the level that you see it at or what you wanted to do, but it's like, bro, you're doing the thing. You know, when people talk about starting a book and writing a book.
Yeah.
Many people talk about the idea of doing that. Do people talk about wanting to do training and talk about wanting to start a podcast? I can't tell you how many people have come to me. They I thought about doing a podcast, or I'm gonna start a podcast, and the stats is like most people don't make it to episode 10, and I don't know where I'm at now, but it's like give myself more credit for where I've done and where I've come from because you've gone a lot further than the average person could have. And I don't know what the author stats are like, but I'm pretty sure you're probably past a lot of that stuff too. And it's like, man, you're doing a lot better than what you thought you were. So I have to remind
Yeah.
myself that.
Alex Hormozy said, "You've already achieved goals you said would make you happy." And I think back to where I was 2 years ago, and I was just dreaming of being where I'm at now. And then
Mhm.
once I get here, it's the false summit syndrome I talk about in chapter 12. It's like, okay, you always think that the next big win is what's gonna do it for you, and then you get to the top of that peak and you're like, "Oh, wait, no, the real peak is over there, I gotta keep
Mhm.
moving," and you're just never satisfied with where you are, and, like, you always feel behind, whereas you know, people on the outside looking in are like, "Oh my goodness, you're doing amazing." Like, how many hundreds of episodes have you done? I tried to start a podcast, I didn't make it to episode 2. Like, it is so difficult to do what you're doing and you instantly discredit that achievement. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book, is because I have this achievement amnesia where
Mm.
I achieve something, and or I write 4 books and I'm like, once I write the 5th though, then I'll be a real author, but not yet. And um we just always place our happiness and our security on what's next. And if that target always moves, then we're just perpetually in this never ending chase.
I think that chapter hit me the hardest
Mm.
because that is me. Everything about that was me and what I deal with. And I was like, golly, did she take a peek into my life real quick when she wrote that chapter? Because I am quick to discredit stuff. And people will be like, man, I see what you're doing. I respect it. Like, it's so cool. But I'm like, I'm not even, I promise you, bro. Like, because I see the real end of it. And I feel like if I pulled you behind the curtain too, you wouldn't be as impressed. And that's what goes through my mind. Like, you don't see the full back end of things. You don't see all the ups and downs and the struggles. And because I see that, I hold myself to that image and I ignore the good. And it's like I try to be kinder to myself and I don't know how to do that yet. So I'm really focusing on trying to like accept, like, man, you're doing the podcasting thing. And I enjoy doing it. And I'm trying to just lean in that more. Like, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the process, the tinkering, the figuring stuff out. Like, I enjoy all the little nuances of like, how do I ask this question this way? How do I transition that way? How do I do this? How do I do that? And because I enjoy it, it makes it easier for me to keep going versus if I was just caught up on being the Joe Rogans or being the whoever else. And it's like, man, I'm not Mel Robbins. Like, I can't do what she's doing. I'm failing. And I see I'm going from not being ranked on the chart to being ranked. Okay, now let's get top 100. Okay, it's now be top 50. Like, it's cool for that ambitious goal, but it's really about getting locked into the process of hitting that goal. So I don't know. I haven't
Yeah.
figured it out yet.
Oh, I haven't either. And sorry, can you hear all these sirens?
Yeah, you're good though.
Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, even while writing this book a few days before I published, I had a big mental breakdown because I feel like a failure as a
Mm.
writer, because this book has to sell a lot of copies in order for me to continue what I'm doing. And I was really having a hard time with that. And one of my friends was like, just go crush it today at work. And I was like, oh yeah, the reason why I'm so stressed out is because I'm hyper fixated on the outcome of this, when really I cannot control that. You can't decide to write a bestseller. You just have to decide to show up and try your best and hope that the rest will take care of itself. And Larry Bird has this great quote. He's like, I have a theory that if you give 100% all the time, things will work out. And it is that simple to just focus on giving your best to the work. And if you think about the outcome or you compare yourselves to others, that's where you start to lose focus on doing the work that you need to do today.
Speaking of, we brought up home rows before. I think we brought up too much here. You might have to get like royalties on them back in. So this is the last time we got to reference him. But he had this line. He was like, "Don't give your best, give what's required."
Mm.
Like you said it in the book, and I was like, okay, give your best, give your best. But then that always rings in my mind. Don't give your best, give what's required. And he was saying, if my best is, I can't remember the example he gave, but let's say my best is, I'll go this route. So if my best as a player is a D2 guard, no shame in that at all. That's the best player I built up myself to be. I can accept that. And if we're both on that D2 team, we're both ball dominant guards. You know, if I'm Steph Curry and I'm Steve Nash, it's like, yeah, you guys are best when the ball's in your hands. But for me to be doing what's required for this team, it's a little different. So that means Steph might have to play a little bit more too. That means the ball's in my hands a little bit less. You saw that when Kevin Durant came to town. You saw that with LeBron James and D Wade. Man, LeBron James number one, D Wade is two, three, four, five, wherever you had him at. It's like, okay, cool. Well, it's like, hey, I don't need the best version of either one of you guys. I just need to do what's required. And so that can be taking a step back. But then sometimes it's a push forward of the best I have is shooting my best night is shooting 77% from the 3 point. I'm from the free throw line. That's the best I have. Sorry, but we require you to shoot 80%. So like that's the weird pocket of like he said that he meant like give more. I thought about a nuance where of like sometimes you have to back down too. Um,
Mm.
so what do
Yeah,
you think about that?
that reminds me of the Olympics and watching that summer 2024, and you just think about all these superstars, like, I mean, Jason Tatum was barely getting into the rotation, and Halliburton was just the cheerleader on the sidelines, and then he goes on this crazy run to the NBA finals, and you're like, "Oh my goodness, he was capable of all this, and he had to sit on the bench during the Olympics and still have a good attitude about it." Like, that's hard to do.
Yeah, I think that's just that's probably the best picture we can have of we don't need the best of you overall. And I think it kind of comes down to the back end of like kind of like your character, the work ethic, the discipline, like you said, the values of what Don values discipline. That's going to show up. Steph Curry values joy. Jordan values competition. Kobe's curiosity. Jokic is just being basically a servant leader, you know, doing what's required for the team.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, if I can give the best of that, maybe that matches or meets the requirement of what I need to do too. So I think Jokic is beautiful where you said that. It's like basically if I need to drop 50, I will drop 50 because my team needs that from me. If I need to back off and only drop 20 and let Jamal Murray go off for 40, cool. I just want to do I just want to win. I don't want to make this work. And so because I want to win, that's the beautiful side of winning at all costs. I'm willing to cost my pride, my jealousy, my laziness, or whatever, because I want to do what it costs to win. And so thinking of Jokic like that, it's like, bro, you're doing it the right way. That's the right process. That's the right character you want to have because you want to win at all costs of that end. You want to sacrifice less of me, more to the team so we can win.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think there's kind of this false idea of Jokic that he doesn't care, but you watch him play and he cares deeply, and he's always making the right play, doing whatever his team needs, and he's just driven by that core value of service, and that really is what sustains these great players and these great coaches. um, and I put that chapter right after the chapter about anchoring yourself in the doing, where I talk about how, you need to stay grounded in doing the act itself and not in what you get out of that. And after I finished writing that chapter, I thought about a player I had at Clemson who didn't love basketball. And she would tell me, once I retire, I can go years without picking up the basketball. And it really made no sense to me just because of how hard she worked. Like, she was always in the gym putting up extra shots, and I mean, just a total gym rat who didn't love basketball. I was like, "Wait, then what was it?" Um so I texted her after I wrote the chapter Anchor Yourself in the Doing, and I was like, "Hey, why in the world were you working so hard if you didn't love basketball?" And she explained that her number one core value was wisdom, and that, you know, she was able to use that to drive her. Like, she was really extracting lessons out of every piece of the game, and kind of doing what was required of her for the sake of that core value of wisdom. Um, so she really inspired the chapter about values.
Mm. It kind of leads to a deeper, not deeper, but a different viewpoint of be where your feet are.
Mhm.
It's taking advantage of the circumstances that you're presented in front of because for her, we're taught to give 100% effort and you can't quit and stuff. And especially that position, like you're in college ball, in that instance, it could be finish out the season and then you can move on and you're good. Not trying to throw shade to anybody that does that. Not trying to do that at all. But, just that in the instance of like, I'm gonna give my best for the season and move on. But she had the viewpoint of, no, I'm gonna give this my best 4 years or 5 years, six, however it was, to this cause, and I'm going to extract everything I can from it for the next phase of what I do next. And if I want to do better with that standpoint of like, no matter the situation that I'm in, give 100% of what I have to this, no matter what, because that is a character building thing for me to move forward with. So the work ethic, the discipline that she put in to be the best college player she could be, I'm pretty sure she can tap back into that easily with whatever she's doing now. And it's like, man, she could now phone Julie and be like, hey, I need you as a reference for this job or whatever to talk about this. And because, like, yeah, she didn't love the game, but she was definitely committed and she gave the best that she could, no matter what. Everything we asked of her, a great teammate. We loved it. And that's probably what you're getting with this company too. So it's like, oh, thanks. Okay. She's all right, because it's that simple for it now. So I think that's a beautiful piece of when you core yourself that way too.
Yeah, and when you're driven by those values, no one can take that from you. Like, eventually everyone is going to stop playing the game, and those resume virtues, like how well you can shoot, won't matter. But if you were able to extract these character building lessons out of the game, you're going to take that with you no matter what field you go into.
Mm. So what? Okay, I've been wanting to ask you this for a while. So we're finally here now. Because you talked about early in the book about how your playing experience and how you kind of had a jaded view of what winning was, success was. But like, what did the game reveal about you that you look back now and was like, okay, this is who I was and this is what I was missing as a player? Like, what did the game reveal about you?
Yeah, I mean, I totally believed that winning was everything, and I thought that that external success could change me and make me feel good about myself. And so I chased that pretty hard, um, but with the focus on outcomes and not the focus that I needed, which was the present moment. And I talk in the book about how if I could go back and give myself one piece of advice, it would be limit yourself to the present. And I was a junior college player, so when you're at that level, it's hard to not look at where you are as a stepping stone, right? Like, everyone who's playing junior college basketball is like, okay, 2 years here, and then I'm trying to go to the next level. So you're constantly thinking about what's next and how to get to the next level. And I was always thinking about, like, okay, how do I need to play this game in order to play at a 2 year school? And I just put so much unnecessary pressure on myself, which ultimately led to the start of Ball is Psych, because I was just such a head case. I mean, I was working hard, but um, my mindset was just kind of fixated on the results because I wanted so desperately to keep playing basketball that I look back and I regret all the moments that I missed because I was just so focused on what was next.
Mm. Now we talked about highlighting ourselves and talking about the good parts of us. You just highlighted the bad and what you learned, but you learned some good stuff about you too. So
You caught me. You caught me. No,
I'm
I worked really hard in college and I think I was a leader in that element and um I developed a really good relationship with my coach because she just respected how hard I worked and how bad I wanted to be great. Um and I really had the desire to lead and to lead by example. So I'll give myself credit for that. I was a hard worker, and had I hung my hat on that, um, I would have alleviated a lot of pressure.
I think that's beautiful, man. Because we tend to, well, like you said earlier, the ambitious people, we give ourselves no credit. And
Mhm.
in this game of basketball, like we talked about, it's really come down to winning and losses at the end of the day. But kind of like what the whole book is about, it's really about the journey, who you are in the process, and who you become. Like you mentioned in the book, I think Pat Summit, that was a Pat Summit letter about who you become in the process.
Yeah, yeah. Her
Yeah.
letter to Shalia Collins.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what I want, this idea of where if you're going to work with you, that's the core emphasis that we have.
Mhm.
Because it's kind of crazy for us, and I'm guilty of this too, of we're saying, hey, because you want to make it to college and because you want to play pro, this is what the funnel goes to because that's the goal. But that's a terrible goal to have because most kids aren't going to do that. But if we really made it about who you become in a process, and that's really the foundation that we laid, we're probably going to set a lot more kids up more for success. Like they can literally say, hey, I can't stand anything about basketball. I don't like the running. I don't like the jumping. I don't like none of the sweating and stuff. Forget all of that. But I enjoy this process because I like who I'm becoming in the middle of it. And I think if we did that, it's like, hey, sweetie, maybe basketball is not for you. You're a little too aggressive, so you can try flag football, you can try softball, volleyball, or hey, buddy, I know you like doing this, but like let's transfer this skill to this other sport, or transfer this to doing an instrument. And because you're taking these, like you're being more mindful about the skills you're learning and who you're becoming in the process, we can transfer that to anything now. So that's like if somebody's like starting a committee for youth, uh, I don't know, licensing, like I'm throwing that in the ring to like, hey, everybody needs to understand that's the main skills we're working on of like who they're becoming in the process versus this outcome driven. Or you want to play college ball, you want to make it to the pros, you want to do play high school. It's like, no, just become a better person in the middle of this, and that everything else will kind of figure itself out from there.
Mhm. Yeah, that reminds me of Pierre de Coubertin's whole philosophy. You know, he was really passionate about moral development and he really advocated for physical education classes, not so much for physical health, but for that character development. And ultimately, it led to him creating the Olympics, but it was never because of his passion for like glory and gold medals. It was like sports can unite us and give us this arena to put into practice these skills that translate into any area of our lives. And that's, I think, the power of sport. And when we make it just about winning, we really minimize how powerful sports can be.
Yeah. I think I lost my train of thought there fast. Dang. Dang, that's crazy. I lost my train of thought
It'll
that
come back.
fast. You know what's crazy? I think it was a deja vu 'cause I think this happened last episode that we did too. We both had a moment where we lost our train
Did
of
it?
thoughts.
Oh,
I think so.
happens all the time to me.
Cause you're so quick to pull up quotes and stuff, and I'm quick to butcher a quote. Like I get like the context of it, but I can't quote any. Like even from the Bible, it's like I can't tell you where it came from exactly, but I can tell you what it said and what I got from it. So don't ask me exactly where it came from. I know it's somewhere in this vicinity, but exactly detail like chapter and verse, don't ask me that. I'm
At
not
that
there.
point, you just gotta claim it's original so nobody knows you butchered it. Just
I might
pretend
start.
you made it up.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, so I kind of thought of this line one day, and this is how it goes. And they're like, this sounds like that. You know what? It does sound like that.
Yeah.
um,
Good
how do
artists
you remember all the quotes
copy.
though?
What'd you say?
How do you remember all the quotes though?
That's taking up like 90% of the storage in my brain. It's just quotes. But it's kind of part of my morning slash writing session routine is I'll go on Pinterest or I'll think of someone and I'll search up their quotes and write them down on note cards. Because I like condensed wisdom, and I think writing them down kind of gets me warmed up and gives me some fresh ideas to like, oh, how can I expound on this quote? Or that quote sounds really deep, but what does that actually mean? So I kind of have an obsession with quotes.
And I have some people who like I have my closest friends and stuff, they know me pretty well and they know don't expect me to know what's going on in society, life, culture and stuff. Cause I genuinely do not care. And
Hmm.
my brain only allow like certain storage brain. And it's like I can go in depth about certain stuff, as you can see. We've been talking this long about this stuff. And I can go in depth about that all day. But if you ask me what just happened with this celebrity's personal life and this thing, I'm like, no, I haven't heard it. It just happened. Everybody know about it. I'm like, everybody but me. Like, you heard about this song? I didn't hear it. I'm sorry. Like, I'm in my own kind of bubble. And it's great because they know not to expect me to know a lot of stuff. And like, oh, you do know about this. And I'm like, man, relax. Like, I know a little bit, but I feel you on
Yeah.
that.
You can really self-cultivate, by choosing or being really picky about which content you consume.
And that's what I've done. Like, it's on, like,
Mhm,
I really want to like filter all of my social media like to a extreme level of if it's not these three things I care about or five things, I literally don't want to see it. Like
mhm,
I'll be very content in being naive of a lot of stuff in culture. I just don't care. I genuinely don't care. I don't have any like it doesn't benefit my life at all to know this stuff. Um so yeah, I wish I could have like my Instagram set up to like, just curate all this content to me and that's it.
mhm.
But
Yeah, I feel
they
you.
don't care enough. But no, I remember what I was saying earlier. Going back to the Olympics and how it cultivates the character and stuff. I was talking to one of my friends and I was like, somewhat of a judgment in working out, but it's more of like, this is why we respect people who work out so much because you're visual proof of everything else that goes into it. So like you can see somebody who you see LeBron, it's like he doesn't have to tell me he's disciplined, how he's trained and he's focused and he does X, Y, and Z. He just shows up and it's like, obviously, you're doing something different. I'm
Mhm,
out of shape, you're in shape. And it's not the actual workout that matters, it's everything around the workout. It's the discipline in the kitchen, which is a huge piece of that battle. Like getting to the gym, people think that's the true workout. Like, no. That's probably the smallest part that goes into it. It's the nutrition and eating right. It's the recovery so you can go do it the next day or the next week. It's everything around it. It's the cardio, which it could just be walking for some people. It's everything around it that means so much. And I can't understand how people don't understand the importance of that. Like I get if you don't want to do it, that's your thing. I'm not gonna sit here and judge you off of that. But if you just sit here and act like it's nothing, I don't see how you can come to that conclusion. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. He just works out. But it's no, it's everything around that. And that's pretty important. That says a lot about you. So that's where it's like, okay, I understand who you are just off of that alone. Like you could be a crappy human being as far as like other things, but I know that enough about you off of that. Um, and I think sports is in the same vein of like how it reveals a lot about you, for the most part. Like there's
Mhm.
obviously exceptions to the rule, but it says a lot about you too.
Yeah, it really does reveal your commitment to the process and to doing the unseen work. Like, so much of the work that LeBron does, like, probably 99% of it, none of us ever see, and what we see on the court is just the byproduct of how he spends, all of his time. It's all dedicated to producing that byproduct.
Mm. Yeah, we talked about what the game revealed in you as a player, but I'm also curious to know like what has authorship revealed in you? Like being an author now, what has that whole process cultivated and built in you?
Mm. I think I've tried to go about it in a few different ways, and I I think I tried to be really disciplined at first of like, I'm gonna write 1,000 words a day and I'm gonna do it at this time and be really productive and strict. Um, and then all of my writing kind of sucked. But then I went about it a different way of like, okay, how can I just get inspired? What did I actually struggle with as a player? What am I struggling with now? And when I approach it that way, instead of the more disciplined, writing, hitting a certain word count, when I just went all in on passion and inspiration, I like don't want to get up and do anything else. I'm so productive when I stop trying to be productive and I just get really inspired. So I think it kind of revealed the same thing that basketball did, is that I'm really passionate, and when I lean into that, I'm able to work very hard, harder than I would with discipline, I think.
So the process that you have now of getting inspiration and, the seasonal writing, I guess you can say,
Mhm.
did you come up with that with this book or the last book? When did you kind of develop that process?
Um, I I mean, this book took me a lot longer than the other books, so I think the other books I was able to kind of ride a creative high. Um, but this one really tested me because it was such a long project. Um, and I think this was where I really realized that hitting a certain word count and having that kind of discipline writing style is not going to work for me as much as like I'm gonna go hike a mountain and, look for inspiration out in the world. And then when I come back, like, I'm gonna make sure I have something to write about. Um, and I think in writing this book, I realized the importance of living inspired and going out and um, living my life in such a way that when I come back, I always have something to write about.
Mm, I can attest to that. I don't know why my body and brain works like this, but I have like when I'm lifting, I get like idea for content and stuff, or like idea or whatever out of that. But for whatever reason, when I'm running, oh my goodness, that's like where the well just pours out, and I have so much stuff to just think of and go through, and it's like my brain just flows so much better. But the funny, ironic part about that, I cannot stand going out there and running. Cardio is like I have a love relationship with it. So I can definitely feel you on that. Like going outside and doing that is a great, beautiful inspiration process. But I don't like the act of what it takes me to get inspired because it means I have to go out and jog and run. And
Yeah,
man,
and then how do you feel after you do it? Are you like, "I need to do this every day, this is so great," or
oh for sure. I'd be like, I need to come back out here. Matter of fact, I'm running in the morning and in the afternoon and do that every day until something changes. But
Yeah. Yeah, in the same way. A lot of my runs are out and backs, and by the time I go out, I just have to stop because I have so many ideas to write about that I'm like, "We're gonna have to cut this run short
mhm,
because I'm overflowing with ideas."
yeah, I've had times where I like so I do this thing now where I'll just stop and record myself talking now because that's the
Okay.
easiest way for me to get it out. And sometimes I try to write it out or like type it in my phone or write it down sometimes. And it doesn't feel the same way. I don't get the same connection to it of what I initially had. And so I'm doing better with trying to record it because I can hear it better and it taps me back into what I was thinking in that moment. So that's my little trick. Sometimes when I'm running, I have to just stop and like, okay, this is too good. Let me just stop for a second, pause to run, record what I have to say. Um, and then sometimes I just like get it while I'm running. Like I'll sacrifice the timing of the run to get this idea out sometimes. So sometimes I'll sacrifice like I'm trying to push myself to the goal of like cutting my time down and doing this and doing that. It's worth it. I'm gonna sacrifice because this idea is just too good. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
my inspiration wheel.
That's what differentiates the podcasters from the writers. The podcasters stop their run to record what they're thinking, and I'm just in my notes app.
Dang, I think about it like that. That's interesting though. Yeah. I do a little bit of both, but I think for me, the video works better for a lot of stuff because I forget the context and the nuances of it. So I'll write
Mhm.
the points down and I'm like, dang, this sounds good, but I can't remember exactly what's that bullet point mean. I just can't remember. Like, it feels good, but I can't get the full connection back again. Versus the
Yeah.
video, I get like 90% of it back. I'm like, okay, I can do a good enough job to remember it so I can make this content later on or make it a podcast out of whatever. So that's my creative process.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I do have a lot of fragments in my notes app that I don't know where I was going.
Oh man. We have talked for almost 2 hours now um,
Whew,
about mindset in your book. This is crazy.
we could go all day.
I told you this is going to be a long one. And once you said the okay, I was like, all right. I try to cut it short sometimes. The idea is like 60 to 90 minutes, but there are occasional times where the conversation is really good. And I know you don't have time, and I know I don't have time. So it's like, all right, cool. So this is what the episode has turned into is this.
Yeah. Well, we cut it short of 3 hours.
That is true. I'm trying to wind it down now. So the goal is to not get 3 hours,
Okay.
but it could easily go another
We'll
hour.
see.
Really
Yeah,
easy.
we'll see.
What is success or winning for you for this book though?
Um, it's funny, in my last book, Becoming a Pro, I defined success for myself as I want to get a message or a DM from someone saying that this book really helped them. And that was just kind of my definition of success as an author. Um, but as I was writing this book, it definitely changed because that's something, again, I can't really control. Um, all I can control is how hard I worked. And I really, I think, detached from the outcome of this book, not like, okay, can this book be a bestseller? How many teams can I get to do team orders? It was about, can this book be what I'm envisioning it to be? Would this book have helped my 19-year-old self? And I think now I can answer those questions with like, this book would have been exactly what I needed to read. And that for me is success because I just get the peace of mind that comes from knowing I gave my best and I created something that would have helped me.
Mm. I'm getting to a point where I I'm not there yet fully, but the idea is for me to make I only care about making 3 people proud, and it's the prime version of me. When I think about my best self, I wanna make him proud. Like, what would he you know how people like, "What would Jesus do?" It's like, what would he do? Like, what would that guy do in his decision-making process? When I think about him, how can I get closer to being that person? But then sometimes it's like, man, what would the kid version of me, like, what would he need to hear? What would he like to see? Can I make him proud? And try to frame my content to that person too at times. And that's why I'd be like, I don't like a lot of my stuff. That's another conversation. But um yeah, that's a whole nother conversation about that. But yeah, I want to make him proud and think about what he needs, what would he like to hear. And like if he could see me now and be like, man, you doing that? That's crazy. How would he feel? Then I
Mhm.
think about like 80-year-old me, like the one who not in shape the same anymore, the one who doesn't have the energy and time to do all this stuff. Will he be like, man, I regret not doing this, I regret doing this? Like how would he think and feel? So thinking that that three prism idea of who I want to make proud is kind of like my North Star of like what success means. So if I can
Mm.
make those three versions of me proud, I'm like, okay, I'm killing it. Like that's what the real goal is. And I'm working to do that more and more. But the hard part is the thinking process of like, man, what would genuinely make 8-year-old be proud? Like, what would he really love? Like NBA stuff was cool. That was the idea. And it's like, okay, well, you're not going to do NBA. You're going to be a trainer. What would that look like? And it's like, okay, cool, do that. But does he really care? Like, nah, he just wants to do X, Y, and Z. Hmm. Okay. Simplify stuff a little bit more. What would the best prime version of me look like? What would he do? What would he want to see? Okay, he'll do that. He'll see this. Okay, thank you for doing the work that gets me closer there today. For what 80-year-old me think, dang, bro, why didn't you take that gamble? Why didn't you risk more of
Mm.
doing that? I don't have a story to tell about this trip because you were too scared to take it. Like you had this stuff, like me right now, thinking about me at a younger age when I was in college. And it's like, bro, why didn't you do more stuff? So now let's zoom that out to where I'm 80 and look back now. It's like, dang, I regret not doing that. I regret not trying that at least. So I'm trying to appease all three of those people because those three have my best interest no matter what. They understand the background story, they understand the context and the nuances. So if I can make them proud, that's success. Like that's what a
Mhm.
win is for me. And I'm working
Yeah.
to navigate those intricate details more and more.
Yeah. That's a really powerful way to define success and honestly evaluate where you're at and what you're doing. And I like what you said about your 80-year-old self, how you're going to look back and wish you took more risks. That's so true. And yeah, it's easy to want to play it safe, but when 80-year-old you is looking back, are they going to be, you know, proud of you for all the risks that you took? That's really important.
Yeah, because I'm an overthinker. I'm overcautious. I analyze so much. And that's cost me so many stories and opportunities of just like Yep, I thought this was gonna be a good investment. It tanked, you know. And the way I am, I got dark humor, so I find a way to laugh about it anyway. So I just want to. That's the one who I feel like I'm feeling the most sometimes. It's like, bro, you're not doing you're not taking enough bigger shots. Take a half court heave. Take a Steph Curry from the other free throw line from the other end of the court shot. Like take a few more of those. It's okay. If you miss it, guess
Mhm.
what? The game's still gonna go on. Gonna get more shots later on. The difference between like Simon Sinek talks about the infinite game versus the finite game. It's like, hey, the game's going to continue to have more shots going on. So you can
Mhm.
start a podcast and it fails. Try this idea out with the podcast. This was terrible. Well, just pivot, try this again. Man, this was a terrible idea with business. Well, you're in America. They're going to let you make another business if you want to. Try it again. Oh, I wrote this book, but it didn't do what I wanted to do. Well, book number 4 didn't do what I wanted to, but let's re up on number 5. Book number 5 was about how terrible book number 4 was, and here's what I learned from it. And don't be like me. So that's my compass now when I think about trying to be successful now. It's really
Mhm.
just making those 3 people proud.
Yeah. Yeah, and you learn more from those losses than you do the wins.
Mm. So what's the biggest lesson slash loss that you had within writing this book?
Hmm. The biggest lesson. I mean, I think it forced me to let go of this the sales of this book or how it does. Um, I think, obviously I have to sell the book because I have to make rent, but I've come to terms with the peace of knowing like I did my best. I did the work that I felt called to do, and it's worth it no matter the outcome.
Mm. How do you balance that though? Because I deal with that too. Because there's an objective measurement of success that you have to hit. Like you have to sell X amount of book because, like you said, that makes rent. But then there's the philosophical, psychological aspect of it. Oh, this is what success means, and it's beautiful to make my 8-year-old self proud. But yeah, you're finna be homeless next week. So how do you kind of balance like I need to have this objective win or loss with the nuance of what success means for you internally?
Yeah, I don't know. If you figured out, let me know. No. I mean it goes back to what is within my control. I can't force anybody to buy my book, but I can, come on the podcast and talk about everything I learned writing it. I can make blog posts. I can tweet more. There's so much that's within my control that can help influence the outcome. Um, but you can't control the end result. You can only control how you show up and what you give. And so you define yourself by the effort you give, not what you get out of it.
Hmm. Hold on. Just had an idea. So you defined, okay, your definition of your best was being fully present, working hard on what matters most, and knowing when to push or pause without guilt. And I was thinking, sometimes we can get caught up with, like you said, the objective goal of I need to have this, but the philosophical goal of this what success means. And just, using entrepreneurship for an example, like, yes, I have to hit this goal to sell this thing, or I'm going to be homeless. And it's like, could I live with me working hard and working my best and not hitting this goal? But what does that look like? Because, like you said in your definition, working hard on what matters most. I can be working hard on, like, Steph Curry can work his post game the entire summer, like, ooh, crazy post game, like working my butt off. It's like, bro, when's the last time you
Mhm.
posted up in your life besides some little
Right.
camp when you mess with some kids? And so it's kind of really being mindful of the goal and working like intentional and working diligently towards that, because that truly makes you not regret anything at the end now. So yes, I
Mhm.
could be homeless because the podcast isn't done well. I'm not getting up players to train, and now I'm out being homeless. And it's like I can live with that now because I genuinely did the best I could to figure this out, and I can look back with all the wisdom and stuff I have when I'm 80. Look back and be like, "There's nothing else I could have done." Because Kobe's retirement, you mentioned that in the book, and it's like everybody thought he was going to be like, "Man, I wanted one more ring." Like, God, I wanted to at least tie Jordan. I wanted to beat Jordan, have 7, but at least tie him at worst. And all the end is like, "No, I'm good, bro. Like, I'm done." Like, well, why? How? I did all the surgeries. I did all the rehab, prehab I could have done. I did everything I poured everything I had into the game to where now I am done. I went to Germany, France, Spain, Switzerland, Antarctica, the North Pole, South Pole. I went to anywhere. I tried to find vibranium. I tried to find Superman to help me. I did everything I could possible to get my body to be the best shape I can to play. I'm done now. And it's like, dang, he really seems at peace. And I think we can all say that about ourselves. That's when we've won. So
Mm.
I'm gonna keep playing around with like the idea and definition of like the best. Cause I'm like a definer of words too. So I get kind of nerdy
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reward for going all in on anything. It's that you don't feel the need to go back, like, live with no regrets, and that's what beyond winning is teaching you to avoid is regrets, whereas winning is like avoid losses. You can't control that, but you can control your effort, and if your effort is all in, then you get to live with no regrets.
Mm. So what is outside of, just authorship, what is success and winning for you in life now as a young lady? What is that like for you right now?
Um, I think I define it by how I show up and how I lead. Am I contributing to other people's lives? Am I making other people's lives better? And it's really about adding value, I think, to others.
So you don't want to just make impact as an author. You want to do it like overall life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I I hesitate to define myself only as an author because I feel like I'm so young. I might wake up one day and want to do something else. Like maybe I want to go be in the front office of a team or something like that.
Mm. But I think there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
if you called me a trainer or a podcaster, like, that's what I do. You know, I don't have any qualms about it because I could literally, I had her interview with another trainer. We're talking about identity, and I was telling her it's like I found a very good spot in my identity now because I'm not married to being a trainer. I'm not married to being a podcaster. I'm dating these titles and these roles. I
Mhm.
could drop it tomorrow, and it'll be a hard adjustment because I've done this. My life kind of wrapped up into it, but it's not going to be the end of the world for me because I have so much more to offer to where I'm more than that. So it wouldn't hurt me as much. But now you asked me a couple years ago, it's like, man, I'm a trainer. I do this. This is what I like. I used to identify myself as a hooper, basketball player. Everything from top to bottom was about that. But I pivoted away to where now it's a trainer. Okay, now it's podcaster. Oh, I'm so cool. It's this and it's that. But now, like, this is what I do. It's not who I am.
Mhm.
So, I wouldn't not discourage you. from pivoting away from authorship. But it's like it's kind of from a business and branding point, it's great to have, you know. So I'll say just if you keep that title, for a couple years, you're like, hey, cool. I was an author for however many years it's been now, but now I'm pivoting to be a GM or this coach or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think there will always be a writer in me, but I value experiences so much that I could see myself getting into something else, just to acquire more experiences to write about.
Mm. So what's next for you? Is outside of, trying to push the book, market it, get sales and stuff, are you do you already have an idea about the next book or what's the next venture for you?
Yeah, I have several ideas for another book, but, um, December, I'm taking off from book writing and just focusing on producing more content on social media. Um, but come January, we'll see. I might get back into another book. I might go try something else. So stay tuned.
I like that. Um, if you could give like a one takeaway of reading the book, and it's like, hey, I want you to start doing this thing after reading the book. Like this is the one takeaway I want you to have, or the one action step I want you to have after reading this book. What would it be?
Stay in the present moment. And it's a lot easier said than done. But um, I mean, that was Nick Saban's whole message. That's how he built the dynasty at Alabama. He's like, do not think about winning a national championship. Don't think about winning an SEC championship. Think about this moment. Think about what you need to do in this instant of time. And that's just such an empowering approach because it's really the only thing that you can control is right here, right now. So if you don't have time to read the book or you can't afford it, just stay in the present moment.
Mm. I think I would pair that with this is a hard part too of really defining what you want your character to be and what you want your values to be, because that can be your North Star. And I wish I would have done that a lot sooner when I was younger. Like you hear it, it's like, oh, to be a man, you gotta have this and third, you gotta have the character and your principles. And it's like no one really teaches you what that looks like and what that means. They just say stuff and expect you to just know what that means and pick it up and run with it. But
Mhm.
I wish I would have been like guided through like, hey, this is what principles mean. This is what they are. These define you because this is what builds your character. These are your values and why you have to learn this because it defines your character. Matter of fact, this is what character is and what it means to you. And so once you start to understand those things, you start now making every decision based off of that. This is actually who you are for this character. So I pair that with that was like, especially the chapter talking about, you know, the values of what, the people you mentioned in there have. So
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a good point. We're all very aware of what we want to achieve and, you know, as a player, we know how many points we want to average, what we want our percentage to be, or which awards we want, but we need to put that same energy into deciding the kind of person we want to come because that's what we're going to walk away with that stays with us whereas all that other stuff it ends with your career.
Mm, yeah. I think the two more takeaways I want them to have from that book would be like, one, I need to go back and listen to this podcast she had with BeBall Jones because I feel like she'll just talk about it a lot more and a lot better. there. And then the second one is like, well, let me go buy her other books now because this one was so good. I'll go back and get the other ones. And then pair that with to the other episode she did with him again about the other book. So I think that's a great takeaway to have too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love those takeaways.
Now you got to rewrite the book and be like, hey guys,
Yeah, let me
go.
go change the last page.
Yeah, it's a QR code. Scan this or hit this link and you'll go to the episode now. Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh man. Okay, we're about to you don't hit too long. Is there anything that you were like, man, I really want to talk about this with the book, or I wish you would have asked me this, or any last points you want to get out about the book?
Um, well, I have a question for you, which is like, what surprised you about the book, or what was your biggest aha moment?
Hmm. Um, most of it was just reminders, honestly. Um,
Mhm.
okay, this is the last time mentioning Alex Ramosi. But he has this thing where he's like, we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And so it's
Mm,
just a reminder of stay focused, lock in on the process, define who you are, almost ignore the outcome basically, and just really lock into doing the work because you can have you can't have the outcome without having the work. But I'd much rather have the work because they're gonna lead me to the outcome.
mm.
So um, yeah, there's a couple things in there that kind of the chapter about the summit and the fallacy that we deal with. So you think you reached the mountaintop, and like that one, that's the chapter. That's the one that hit me. It's like, come on, B. You keep falling for the same the same trick every time, man. So that one hit me personally. The whole book was good overall from what I've read so far. But I feel like there's a couple, so many quotes in there. Because I wanted to like pull them out and ask you about it, but with like to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. I was like, oh my goodness, that one was crazy. Like I, it was a really good book. You know,
Thank
when
you.
winning is everything, comparison becomes your confidence, always pointing you away from yourself and what you can't control. Come on, man. Come on,
Mic
man.
drop.
You're the quote queen. You're the quote queen. Like I think I can say this comfortably. You probably are the quote queen of anyone I know and have been around. Like you've come up with quotes and you've been able to come up with other people's quotes. Like you're the quote queen. That's your Instagram name now, by the way. You should change that.
Thank you. I'm gonna rebrand now, but that means a lot, and I feel really seen because I am obsessed with quotes.
Yeah, because a lot of guys they can do quotes. You know, that's kind of come with this territory and space. And maybe it's just me not listening to as many women, but you are hands down just like because you find so many quotes. I'm like, I ain't even heard this quote from Kobe. What? Hold on, how'd you get me on that? Like, yeah, it's more quotes that I had, but I'm trying not to. All right, I'll do this and hopefully get out of here. I have a few more quotes. So it's not about pretending outcomes don't matter, but about refusing to let them define you. Because if winning is your identity, losing becomes an identity crisis. That one was crazy.
Yeah, I've had a lot of identity crises that inspired
Ah,
that one.
okay, let's talk about it. Let's go. What happened?
Man, I did define myself by the outcome, and when I didn't play well or when we lost, I wasn't okay. And I'll throw in another quote, the Dean Smith quote of when you make winning and losing a life or death ordeal, you die a lot. And I
Mhm.
was dying a lot by placing my worth and my identity in the outcome.
Mm. Give me a specific time that you remember that you died one of those deaths.
Um, yeah, I remember being in my coach's office just crying my eyes out because I don't remember the exact situation, but I know I did not play well or didn't shoot well, and I was just not okay, um, with the outcome, and I prepared. Was showing up to the gym 2 hours before practice to work with the coach, for months leading up to the season, and, I like to think about it. Every shot you take in a game takes about half a second, right? So if I shoot 10 shots and miss them all, I'm making this whole game about 5 seconds, and I would be in my coach's office crying over 5 seconds when I had 3 months of things that I should be proud of. I should be, you know, placing my focus on how did I prepare? How did I show up every day? Instead, I chose to make it about the 5 seconds, and that led to a lot of identity crises.
Mm. I'll say this off air. I'm gonna write this down. Hold on. It's an idea. I'm gonna just give it to you, so you might be able to take it around with it. Not saying you will, but just looking out for you. Um, but yeah, I think that's what a lot of players struggle with because you had a line in the book where um, you do all the work and everything, and you don't hit the goal. And we feel like that's failure. But like the point of the work is kind of to do it in spite of the goal. So if you hit the game winning shot or you miss it, it doesn't matter. It's kind of just doing the work because it's required. Whether you get in the game or you don't, are you the bench player showing love to your team, bringing the energy and train like you're the starter, or just doing it because you think it'll get you starting point? Now you're trying to win favoritism with the coach. Like, yes, you're working hard, but now your heart posture's wrong because you're trying to angle it to maneuver and manipulate the goal to get you what you want to have. And now it's everything becomes jaded now because your identity is tied to the outcome versus who, once again, who you are in the process of getting to the outcome. So yeah, it's powerful, man. Uh, this might end up being three
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah. I How you show up when you're not getting the results you want says way more about your character than how you show up when your team is winning and you're the starter and the leading scorer. Like, anyone can show up and work hard when that's the case, but how you do that when your team's been eliminated from playoff contention, I mean, that says everything about your character.
That leads into the next quote, which I think might have came from that same chapter. It says, "Winning shows what you can do, losing shows who you are." And I was like, "Golly, that is so true, man." Like, yes, you're capable of dropping 30. You want to pivot real quick so you can get out the sun?
Yeah, we've been recording so long, the sun is, like, setting on me. Let's see. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Um, yeah, just because you winning and you're great at doing whatever, it just shows what you can do, but it doesn't show the full story of who you are. And you truly want to see who they are, it comes down to like how they handle losing too. Um, so I think we should always judge people on both sides of it because when somebody's down and out, oh, it's easy to be humble. It's easy to be, um, oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Now, when you're the one with $10 million in your pocket, and now you not answering phone calls and you're too busy doing anything with people, and it's like, oh, the money revealed who you really are. Or because now you're an NBA champion, WNBA champion, all of a sudden you're too good for the little people down here. So I think we can judge people on both sides of it. But I love that quote, man. Winning shows what you can do, losing shows who you are. Like, did you come up with that one?
I think I did. Um,
Original quotes. I love them.
yes. Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite stories from the book is about Kobe being in the final years of his
Hmm.
career, and the Lakers are not good. Like, they do not have a team who can contend for a title. And Kobe gets a call from Jeannie Buss and his agent, Rob Pelinka, and they're like, hey, we're so sorry for what's happened to this team. And, we just feel so bad watching you go out there and struggle after you've worked so hard for so many years. And if you want, we can make a few phone calls and get you on a contending team so you can go out the right way. And
Hmm.
Kobe got like offended. He was like, we've known each other for a long time. What about me makes you think that I would jump ship? We don't we don't do that. We don't run. We don't jump ship just because it's sinking. And I think that really revealed that Kobe valued how you show up when you're losing, and a lot more than he valued going out and chasing rings.
Yeah. I think this is my last quote, and it probably came from that same pocket too. The down years don't build your resume; they build your resolve, and that was truly what Kobe stood for in those last few years. Because it's Kobe, like we all hold him to high regard, and it's like, man, it hurt to see him going out like that. But like you said in the book, when people mention, look back over their careers and they mention stuff, it's either the good times they had with their teammates and the coaches in the locker room stuff, the traveling, or it's the down times because that built the character and the integrity and everything that made up for the good times. So that's what Kobe stuck his flag in. Like, no, I'm going down with my ship, like you said, with the captain. The captain didn't do it out of financial reasons or anything else. It's literally just his character of like, hey, y'all can leave, y'all got life to live, whatever. I'm going down with the ship. So
Mhm.
Captain
Yeah.
Kobe, man.
I gained a lot of respect for Kobe's approach, especially when, he finished his career and he was saying it, he's more proud of the down years than the championship years. Like in front of Laker Nation, they're probably like, "I don't talk about that. We want to forget." And he's like, "That meant more to me than the championship years." And at that point, I think if I was in that position, I think I'd be reminding everybody that, "Hey, I won 5 championships here. Y'all need to know me as a winner." And he just took the total opposite approach.
What is something that you learned throughout writing this book that kind of shocks you and surprised you? Or it's like, man, this made me respect Gino even more or Pop even more or whoever.
The most shocking thing that I found was that in all of the 4 major professional sports, each team who had the best regular season didn't win a championship, which just blew my mind. That was the one that I don't know, it just felt like a shocking discovery, um, that really, shows you how much losing can help a team,
Yeah.
help
I felt a
develop that
little,
resolve.
yeah. I felt a little, I don't know. I felt the way with the Warriors being on there because they lost out of injury. You know what I mean? It's like they
It
shot
was
themselves in the
rigged.
foot.
Let's just Call it
you
what
know,
it is. I'm not
it's
over it either.
but it's all good. Steph Curry's fine, plays somewhat fine right now. Draymond's fine. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm done. I'm really done this time.
Alright. Under 3 hours. We did it.
Yeah. So you got anything else? Because we've definitely exhausted
I think
everything.
that's it.
All right, people, we have made it. I don't think they understand. So before this, we were talking about we can probably end up being here for all day. We shot the number 3 hours out there, and in my brain, I'm like, "There's no way we hit 3 hours. There's no way." Because I'm gonna cut it down. We're not gonna talk that long. And at some point, I was like, "What?" I didn't get to any of the stuff I really wanted to get to for real. We just kind of started talking, and I was like, maybe I'll get into it at some point. Got into it a little bit. And I was like, "Yep, we're here at 2 hours now." Yep. And now here we are, 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, when we got to 2 hours, it that flew by.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it. It's just crazy. So hopefully nobody fell off by now. Hopefully people are still watching. But
Yeah.
we just been talking to each other this whole time. Nobody hears this part. Oh man. But no, man, I appreciate you, man. This was very fun.
Yeah.
I feel
No,
like I've
thank you
learned
for
about you.
having me. I feel like I walk away, um, with a lot of new things that I learn when I come on this podcast, so thank you.
That means a lot because I feel like you just live your life in books and biographies and podcasts and stuff, just learning stuff. So if I can feel like I can give you something new, I feel like I've succeeded in life.
Definitely. You really offer, um, a unique perspective that's, like, grounded in, I don't know, like, long-term and short-term kind of thinking, and it's really powerful, and that's what makes you a great podcaster.
Oh man, I appreciate that. It's nice. But this has been a long term podcast that has to come to an end at some point. And but no, I appreciate you coming on. If anybody got to this point, please comment or DM me or her and be like, yes, I listened all the way to the end. Because I would love to know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, maybe I'll send you the ebook for free if you did that.
ooh, spicy. So yeah, man. Let's wrap this up. But nah, thank you for coming on. If anybody did listen, I really appreciate y'all because this was a lot of talking and rambling. I feel like it's all valuable stuff. I would have cut it a lot sooner if I didn't feel like it was valuable. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
this is good stuff, and I appreciate y'all. But make sure you subscribe. Make sure that you stay tuned because she's gonna be back whenever the next book is out. Like she has that spot held down. Um, you don't want to miss the next fire interview I have with her friend who does other cool stuff in basketball, or that guy who does other cool stuff in basketball. Because I interview cool people who do cool stuff in and around basketball, and you don't want to miss that. So make sure you subscribe to get that. Um, yeah, that's it, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you again, Julie, for this uh, Moby Dick long size podcast interview. Uh, any
Yeah.
last words
Thanks
before we
so
get out of here?
much. Thanks so much for having me, and I'm already looking forward to coming on again.
Well, I appreciate it. Without further ado, see you next episode.